This is Susan Wilbanks with blendedinsight.com. I am a holistic and integrative healing arts practitioner, an intuitive, and an energy healer. In this podcast, I share tips, tools, and suggestions that have helped me along my path in hopes of inspiring and helping you along yours. Let's get started with today's podcast topic.
Hello and welcome back. It's a beautiful fall day here in Colorado. And today's podcast came in as a result of an experience that I had this week. I was going to the gym. It's 4 a.m. in the morning. I am all blissed out, relaxed. I'm driving on the road, which is normally really empty. And all of a sudden, this car is speeding, tailgating, weaving around me. And there was one other truck on the road. And I thought, what could possibly be the issue at 4 a.m.? To my surprise, the car pulls into my gym's parking lot. So now I'm thinking, all right, let me get into the gym too, because I want to see who this is. And the person that got out of the car was someone whose energy I already don't particularly care for, that attends the gym at the same time that I do. As I'm walking up to the door, he's walking up at the same time. And I almost said to him, "Why are you in such a hurry, speed demon?" I almost did it. And the higher self is like, don't do it. And that's the thing. Just because I'm doing this work doesn't mean that I don't have old tendencies that rise up. I wasn't always this way. I thought, let the matter pass. That is going to be the essence of this episode. Picking your battles. We can't fight every fight. Some are worth engaging in, and some just scatter our energy. It's not about being passive. It's about knowing which fights matter and which ones aren't really worth your energy. Because what I don't want to do is create some friction among someone that attends the gym at the same time that I do. So I'm sitting at the hip thrust machine and I'm getting set up and he's in my line of vision. I'm looking at his energy and he's angry. He's an angry guy. And I'm not going to open up that can of worms. I'm just going to mind my business and focus on my workout. And the reason I want to bring that up is because there's an energetic cost of every battle. Every time you engage, you're spending a part of yourself. You're spending your time, your focus, your emotion, especially now. We're in a time of great sensitivity. People are so easily offended and triggered. We're in a collective fishbowl of people who don't have practices to discharge all of that emotion. And they're just looking for a random person to take that out on them. We see it every day in the news and we watch it in interactions. And so this is one of the things that I remind myself, is this going to matter tomorrow? Will it even matter 10 minutes from now? Is it going to matter next month? Will it matter next year? Every battle creates a cord. There's energetic residue there, and you're going to need to clear it later. It's going to have to get cleared somehow. It isn't avoidance. There's a difference. When you're avoidant, you're shutting down because you're uncomfortable. I used to have this big time. I would avoid confrontation of any kind because it would make me uncomfortable. And I didn't really have the language or the tools to address it appropriately. I grew up in a very pessimistic environment. Small town thinking, worried about what everybody else thinks. You want to look the part, but inside miserable and not doing any of the inner work. I didn't know any of this stuff. I had to learn through seeking out mentors and books and authors. Avoidance is when you shut down. Discernment is consciously deciding, this doesn't need my energy right now. It's not worth it. The cost is too great. My energy is precious. I don't want to put it here. Avoidance is reaction. And discernment is wisdom. That's the difference. In pranic healing, we use a principle called accurate perception, correct expression. So that is seeing things clearly and responding truthfully and not just firing off reactions. So discernment is exactly that. It's when you choose your response instead of being pulled in and just blowing up. Let's talk about when you do need to speak up, when it is a battle that is being assigned to you, because I've had this as well. If you have a boundary that is repeatedly crossed, so it starts to look like permission to where now you're a doormat because it's a repeated boundary that's being crossed, that's a time where you probably need to say something, or when you need to stop a cycle. For example, I had this pattern in my life where I had no self-esteem. If you look at my high school years, I would say through my early 30s, you could look at my relationships and see I had no self-esteem. I was an overgiver. I picked people who would end up being like a son instead of a partner. We don't ever want to date potential. But because I would see that, I would overlook the behavior, even though behavior is a language. And because I know that I'm going to be okay and I'm a hard worker and I can start over, I would take the short end of the stick to be done with it because I don't want the confrontation. I don't want the energy. So for me, it was easier to cut my losses and start over. And I had to start over a lot. I got taken advantage of a lot. It would leave me depleted, and then I would rebuild, and then I would repeat the same cycle. I had unstable parents. I had a broken home. I didn't have anyone talking to me or mentoring me, and I had no one to help me sort this thing out. So I was just winging it. This pattern kept showing up with different faces. This is how I know it was a battle that I had to pick. It wasn't just one person, it was a pattern. The same issue shows up again in a new person because if you don't pass the class the first time, or you're in a more advanced class to see if you really got it, it shows up again. And that's how the universe does this. It looked different, but the root of it was the same. It was the universe showing me how to set a boundary and confront when confrontation is necessary. Confrontation doesn't mean fighting in the sense of being vicious. It means addressing something. I've not had the issue since. The test comes up, but I pass it early on. I notice it, I pass it, and then it falls away. That is how you know when your silence enables harm, disrespect, or dishonesty repeatedly. I have to pick that battle. I have to say something. And your intuition will guide you in this. I had it this year when my mother passed away and my relatives excluded me when I was next of kin, not knowing my story, just being tied to their judgment and hatefulness toward me, which I had already got a taste of when I visited in 2021, which my daughter and I both decided we weren't ever going to go back. So we'd already made that decision. I confronted, I said, hey, this is not right. And I stopped the cycle there because there is this long ancestral pattern of ignoring and not confronting. If it's something that's repetitive, it's probably showing up because of something you need to address. Now we have the battlefield of the internet trolls. And trolls aren't after a resolution. They're looking for occasions to be offended. They're looking for a fight. They thrive on arguments. They can't wait for it. And if you engage, you're stepping into a trap, and it's not something that you're going to resolve. It's going to be an ongoing, endless drain that's not worth your energy. Because truthfully, if you really want to have an honest dialogue and a mature conversation, it requires an actual conversation, not through the keyboard. But trolls don't want to do that. They want to spit their vial behind a keyboard. And I remember years ago, I had talked about sometimes I get ugly internet trolls. I don't get them very often, but it happens. Or they'll send me ugly emails. And I know that they've just created bad karma for themselves. So I don't even engage. I just delete it. Someone sent me a really sweet message and they said that they have a friend who enjoys going on the internet and trolling people, but he's a really good person. If you're not kind on the internet, you're not kind. You're still creating the bad karma. I don't care if it's on the internet. It's you. It's tied to you. And for every little dart that you send out, it's going to come back to you. And it also depends on who you do it to. If you're doing it to someone who is helping and influencing thousands of people, and you're just sitting in your basement angry at the world, sending darts at those people, that boomerang is even swifter for that person because they're actually allowing themselves to be used for the greater good. Whereas you're just sitting there selfish in your own muck and mire and throwing stuff at people who are actually helping and making a difference. So the impact back on you is also going to be a lot swifter. And because I know that, I don't even engage in it. It's not worth my time. And guess what? It's going to take care of itself because that's the law of karma. Knowing that and being mindful of that, I'm also very careful because now that I know better and I'm more conscious, my consequences are greater. So the internet is often noise. And the greatest position you can take is silence. Trolls don't want the truth. They just want fuel. So just to wrap that up, how do you know you're in the same class because it's something that you need to engage in? Different faces, same dynamic. It's the emotional deja vu. If you're triggered, it's linked to something else. So why does this feel so familiar? When was the first time I felt this way? Also, the lesson will get louder each and every time because, hello, you're not getting it. So it gets louder. And also, you keep playing the same role. So one of the things that I noticed is I don't want to fix anybody else's stuff. I don't want any projects. I used to be a fixer and an avoider in relationships, and I absolutely broke that pattern, thank God. But the pattern only breaks when you shift your response. So I had to respond differently, and it's not easy at first, especially when you see something that you can help with, and your knee jerk is to want to help if you're an overgiver, an overfunctioner. I've learned to step back, and it's not just in romantic relationships, it's in all areas of my life. I'm a transformational healer. This is one of the reasons why I changed my format to where I will not do a reading unless I do a healing first, because you need the healing more than you need the reading. A lot of people want the reading so that they can obsess over it, and they don't realize that it's energetic potential. Everything exists in energetic potential. You have your own answers. If someone is creating a situation to where you need them, it's dependency. That's not growth. That's manipulation. And on the spiritual path, what I want to do is help you to transform and evolve. I don't want to spend an hour on the phone with someone just asking if someone's cheating or what does this person think of me? It's not a good use of my time, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if you step into your own power and listen to your own intuition, you tap into your own answers. Readings are a snapshot in time. As an interpreter, I can tell you what I see. Oftentimes, it could be a thought form that you keep creating. Now, the good thing about someone who's objective and is clean, we can often look at ways in which you could be energizing your fears. People who book readings out of urgency and desperation, they're outsourcing their own inner strength and their own inner wisdom. A good reader, a good healer, a good advisor can help you find your own answers, but ultimately you have to learn it. You have to walk it. The goal is to get you centered and grounded and clean so that you're confident in your own path. It's supposed to help guide your decision making, not to outsource your decision making. And usually when people want readings for a fork in the road, they already know the answer. It's just uncomfortable. And they want you to give them certainty. There is no certainty. Sometimes we go down a path and it's very bumpy, but that's what the soul needed to learn that lesson. Just because you're on the spiritual path doesn't mean that it's a smooth sail. Oftentimes it's very bumpy and difficult because your path is accelerated. You're moving through karma. You're moving through lessons quicker. If you have ever taken an advanced class, it's challenging. It's a lot more challenging than the regular class. So knowing that, the certainty needs to lie within who you're connected to and who you're a part of. I am the soul. I am not the body. And when the body passes away, I go back to the soul. So my certainty needs to lie in I'm going to be okay no matter what, as long as I'm listening. You can't claim growth and then go back to fighting every petty fight. For one, it won't be appealing anymore. That's one of the ways you know that you've grown. You don't even have a reaction to that old stuff, and you have zero desire to engage in it. I say this from experience. Now that I am where I am today, and I look back at relatives or people that I went to high school with or random people that go to my gym, and I look at them spiritually, I say, thank God for the tools that I've learned and the path that I'm on, because I have such a broader view and a more positive view. If I'm in a PhD class, I can't expect a kindergartner to behave and respond the way I do. When I was there, I was responding that way as well. I was easily triggered. I was always upset. I was probably miserable to be around. I have compassion for where they are. It doesn't mean that I need to engage in it. Who feeds me and what I choose to engage in has to change because of where I am on the path. So sometimes your role is to just plant a seed. It may sprout years later, or it may not ever sprout, but it's not yours to demand or to dictate when a seed sprouts. I've been called to be a bridge, not a bully. That's why I stay working in the military. I see the value of both worlds, Western medicine and Eastern medicine. Energy medicine is proactive. Western medicine is more reactive. It can be proactive too. They're complementary. And a lot of us choose to go more alternative, and Western medicine is last resort. The point is, there's a place for both of them. And I work with brilliant professionals who genuinely care about people. And I love that. I remember when I first got a job working with Army medicine, our motto was being honored to serve. And I live that. These are good people. And yes, some of them are indoctrinated. I was indoctrinated once. That's okay. That's where they are in their journey. And it doesn't mean that they're not making a difference, because they are. My first supervisor in Army medicine called me voodoo woman. It was funny. It didn't offend me. He saw the other work that I was doing as voodoo. That's okay. But guess what? He benefited from it. And I would get a lot of secret asks. If we all group together and go in the mountains and we don't interact with regular people, how are we really spreading it to the people that need it the most? You don't have to push or force. You don't have to say anything. Your presence alone, if you're a conscious, kind, heart-centered being who's good at your job, you need to also be good at your job, the work that you're placed to do. Your presence alone is making a difference. They feel it without you saying anything. Some people have a warm radiance about them, an openness, a groundedness. Your aura matters. I was in an Army class and I was sitting next to a sergeant major in the Army. I'd been doing Reiki for a little bit back then, and him and I were comparing notes because we had a test coming up and we're talking. And so we're on a break and we would go out into the break room and talk a little bit. And he was a big, burly, strong, muscular Army man. And we're sitting there. I noticed him grabbing his shoulder. So I could tell he was in pain. I said, "Are you okay?" He said, "Oh, I'm in pain." I thought, I'm going to have to say something. Here it goes. And it's uncomfortable because I'm dealing with people that aren't open to this. I'm always out front. So I'm the one that gets to be made fun of and all those things. My skin is very thick because of it. So I said, "I do this thing called Reiki. And if you're open to it, I would be willing to do it." "Well, he's in pain." You see how that happens? He needs help. He didn't care how it comes. He's in pain. He needs help. So I sat there at my desk on break and I turned the healing on and I ran energy healing on him. I probably only did healing on him for maybe 3 minutes. And he looked at me and he goes, "I feel better." It's in those moments, there was a seed planted. A lot of times, those of us who are on this path, we're black sheep. In my family, I was the only woman that went in the military and served longer than anyone else in my family, though because of patriarchy, I get blown off for my service, even though I served almost 13 years. Everyone else in my family served no more than 4, but that's beside the point. So my dad apparently was calling me witch woman to everyone else in the family and to his friends. He didn't believe in what I did, and it made him really uncomfortable. And I remember one time his hip was hurting. I started to do a little Reiki. He froze. He got uncomfortable, so I just let it go. Everybody gets to choose their own suffering. I have the ability to help, but you don't want help. I won't even bring it up to you. I have an awareness that within my family, I'm sure I get talked about, made fun of. And I'm okay with that because their opinion of me is not my opinion of me. But more importantly, their opinion of me is not God's opinion of me. And I know that I'm doing God's work and that's my job. So I just keep doing what I'm doing. So my dad had this vision issue and he was so frustrated. He'd been to the eye doctor, he'd been to the primary care doctor, and he kept getting referred out. So he had been on several medications, eye drops, and he was telling me that his eye was blurry. He couldn't see. He lived in the country and visibility was low. They're saying everything's fine and it's not fine. And again, this is after years of him mocking me. And so while we're talking, I just glanced and I could see what was going on. So I just said, "Well, if you want, I can clear it really quick." It made him a little uncomfortable, but he's desperate. So he said, "Yeah, okay." It took me probably 30 seconds. And the next day he texted me and he said, "I don't know what you did, but thank you. The issue is solved." And that was it. I don't have to convince anyone. I'm not in the business of convincing. I plant the seed, and if it's meant to harvest, in time it will. All I need to do is show up and do the work and let time be the evidence. And with that, let's go into a healing. You can uncross your arms and legs, and I will turn the healing on. And so it is. And you all, it goes back to energetic integrity. How we do one thing is often how we do all things. If you scatter your energy on small irritations, you won't have the capacity and the bandwidth for the fights that matter. Your energy is your most valuable currency. It's your time. Protect it. And with that, I want to wish you a beautiful week. Protect your energy, pick your battles. Take care. Bye bye.